So here are three extra problems to try, and let's look at this. So step one is what type of figure? What's the figure that we're looking at? Does it have two bases? Does it have one base? This has two bases, so we know it's a prism. And then what type of prism? So we have to decide where are those two bases. So I'm seeing this, that the bases are the top and the bottom. And that shape is a rectangle. So the base is a rectangle. Okay, so whenever we find the surface area of a two-base figure that has a rectangle, we're going to have the lateral area plus two bases. And we know that every single lateral area for a prism is always going to be a rectangle plus two of the bases. We know the base is a rectangle, so we're going to have two of these rectangles as my bases. So the next thing we need to understand is that, get away from there. We know that this area, the shape of this is a rectangle, so the area is going to be base times height. My base is over here, my lateral area is here, my two bases are over here. These shapes are also rectangles, so this is also going to be area equals base times height, and these are identical. So I know that those values will always be the same. So if I need to find the base of this rectangle to find the area of this object, of the lateral area, I need to remember that this is the perimeter. It's the perimeter around the base shape. And what is that? Well, I left it in yellow. The perimeter around the base shape is going to be this. It's going to be that distance. So this base of my rectangle here for my lateral area will be the same. So now I have to add up the sides. This distance is going to be 4. I know it's going to be 4 because it's parallel to this value. So that is 4. So now I'm going to start adding up my values for my base of my rectangle. So it is 4 feet plus, now I got to find the next one. I'm going around the object. So that is going to be 10 feet. And then it's plus 4 feet. And then it's plus another 10 feet. So I'm looking for this distance, 4 feet plus 10 feet plus 4 feet plus 10 feet. That will give me the base of my lateral area rectangle. And if we add all those up, we're going to get 28 feet. So the base of my rectangle that represents the lateral area is going to be 28 feet. The next thing we need to look for is the height. The height is going to be the distance between these two bases. Remember, my bases were the top and the bottom of this prism. Top and bottom. These are the top and bottoms. This is the top and this is the bottom. And we're talking about this. Well, that didn't work. No, I don't want that. Oh, goodness, don't want that. Can I get you? Can I grab it? Nope. It's not going to let me grab that yellow. This one, right? Here's the bottom. Here's the top. So those are my bases. So it's going to be the distance between that. My height of my lateral area is always going to be the distance between the bases. And so what is this distance between those two, this bottom one and this top one? Well, that's going to be 10 feet. It's going to be this distance right here. So that's going to be, that value here is going to be 10 feet. So now I have enough information to find the area of this lateral area rectangle. It's base times height. My base is 28 and my height is going to be 10 feet. So 28 times 10 gives me a total of 280 feet squared. 280 feet squared. How did I get that? I got that by multiplying the base times the height. So let's do base. Base is 28 feet times 10 feet gives me 280 feet squared. That's my lateral area. Now I have to go to my bases. And we're talking about the top of that object. So if we look at the base of that top object, well, I'm going to take the base, being this one, will be 10 feet. We're trying to find this object. So I'm going to make 10 feet. I'm going to make this my base. And then the height of that object is going to be this distance, or this one, let's use that, which is 4 feet. Which is 4 feet. So area equals base times height, base times the height. So area equals, let's do it in blue, base, which is 10 feet, times the height, which is 4 feet, which gives me 40 feet squared. And we know that the top and bottom are going to be identical. So we know that the area of this bottom one is also going to be 40 feet squared. So we have 280 feet squared, 40 feet squared, and 40 feet squared. So that on my handy dandy makes 80 and plus 280, which gives me 360 feet squared for my surface area. I think that works quite well. I thought that was a good explanation of it. Let's look at the next one. So we go through the questions. What's the figure? What's the figure? Well, let's look. Does it have 2 bases or 1 base? It has 2 bases, so we know it's going to be a prism. What is the shape of that base? Let's draw out the shape of that base. Well, it looks like a triangle to me. So, since the base shape is a triangle, that means it's a triangular prism. Perfect. What do we know about prisms? So the surface area is going to be the lateral area plus the 2 bases. What's the shape of the lateral area? The shape of all lateral area prisms, lateral area will be rectangles. And then plus the 2 bases. The base of the shape is a rectangle. So we're going to have 2 rectangles. Remember, area of this rectangle equals base times height. The base of this lateral area rectangle will always be the perimeter of the base shape. So let's go around that. What is the measures? What's this measure? That's 10 kilometers. That's 8 kilometers. And that's 6 kilometers. So we're going to combine those values for the base of my rectangle. So I think I said 8 kilometers plus 6 kilometers plus 10 kilometers. and that gives me 24 kilometers is going to be the base of that rectangle. Now, what's the height? The height of this is always going to be the distance between those two triangles, which in this case gives me 5 kilometers. Not crayon. So now when I want to find the area of my lateral area rectangle, I'm going to take area times base, area equals base times height. Base is 24 kilometers times the height, which is 5 kilometers. And 24 times 5, and it gives me 120. 24 times 5, 120 kilometers squared. That is the area of this lateral area rectangle. Now, what's the shape here? Shape is a triangle, so we know area equals base times height divided by 2. Let's find the base of this triangle. Well, we got to go back to my base. So let's take a peek. I can choose this as my base, but I don't have a perpendicular height, so that won't work. I can use this base, and yes, do I have a perpendicular height? I do. So we'll use 6 kilometers as my base. So 6 kilometers as my base. And then what is the height? I said the height was 8. Let's make that blue actually. Stay consistent. That's going to be 6 kilometers. Excuse me, 8 kilometers I said. 8 kilometers. 6 kilometers times 8 kilometers divided by 2. Okay, 6 times 8 gives me 48 kilometers squared divided by 2, which is 24 kilometers squared. So that's going to be the area of that rectangle, and we know that the other rectangle is also going to be 24 kilometers squared. So we have 120 kilometers squared plus 24 kilometers squared plus 24 kilometers squared. Okay, that's 48, so 168 kilometers squared would be the surface area of that triangular prism. Way up here. And the last one, what's the figure? Well, it has 2, so we know it's going to be a prism, but since the shape is a circle, we actually call it a cylinder. But 2 bases, we can still go through this. And the shape of the base is a circle. Okay, so we know that any 2-base figure, the surface area is going to equal the lateral area plus 2 bases. We know the lateral area of any 2-base figure will always be a rectangle plus its 2 bases, and the base shape are circles. We know that this is a rectangle, and to find the area of a rectangle is base times height. We know the base will always be the distance around the object. Since it's a circle, the distance around a circle would be also called the circumference, 2 pi r. So my base is going to be 2 times pi times the radius. And the radius is 12 miles. So that's 6.28 times 12 miles. Let's do that. 12 times 6.28 gives me 75.36 miles. Not squared, that's miles, because we're just talking about the base. That's this value, the base. is going to be 75/36. And then we know the height is always going to be the distance between the two bases. So that height in this case is going to be 11 miles. So if we want to find the area, we're going to multiply the base times the height. Base being 75.36 miles times the height, which is 11 miles. And let's throw that in there. Times 11 gives me 828.96 miles squared. So that is my lateral area. Now let's look at my bases. Base shape is a circle. How do you find the area of a circle? Area of a circle is pi r squared. Pi is going to be 3.14. The radius, as we said, was 12 miles squared. So we're going to square first. 12 miles squared gives me 144 miles squared. And then we take 3.14 times 144, and that gives us a total of 452.16 miles squared. And that's only for one circle. So we also have to add another circle, which will have the same area. So now surface area is going to equal all those added up. Is 828.96 miles squared plus 452.16 miles squared. Let's move you over a little bit. Plus 452.16 miles squared. Ooh, those are some big numbers. Plus 452.16 plus 828.96 gives me a whopping total of 1733.28 miles squared. Now remember, in the directions I think it said round to the nearest tenth. So on the answer sheet it probably gave that value, I'm hoping, but I would expect this. This is the value that I'm looking for. Okay, hopefully that helped and you got the same answers that I did. And if you didn't, reach out to me. We'll try to work on that. Thanks.